Give me the keys, Veronica. Melissa stood in the middle of the backyard, with her palms stretched toward me like my answer had already been decided. Around us, Daniel's family had gone strangely quiet. No, I said, you're not taking my car. Melissa didn't argue. She looked straight at my husband. Daniel stepped closer. Stop embarrassing my sister and give her the keys. I bought that SUV, Daniel. I said no. His hand moved so fast I barely saw it. Slap. My head snapped sideways. Someone gasped. My cheek burned as 20 people stared at us. Daniel's mother lowered her eyes. An uncle froze with his drink halfway to his mouth. Daniel pointed at Melissa. Apologize to her. Give her the car, now. I stared at the man I had married. Then Melissa said something that hurt almost as much as the slap. Daniel already told me I could have it. I slowly turned toward him. Not borrow it. Have it. Daniel reached for my purse. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Then I opened the purse myself. But I didn't reach for my keys. I pulled out a thick envelope. And the moment Daniel saw it, his face changed. 3 hours earlier, that backyard had been full of music, food, and relatives moving between folding tables under strings of patio lights. Daniel had insisted I come. It's family, he'd said. Family. That word had been used against me so many times that I had learned what it usually meant in Daniel's house. Melissa wanted something, and I was expected to provide it. Tonight, apparently, she wanted my SUV. She needed it for an important weekend with Ethan's family. But Melissa wasn't asking like someone borrowing a vehicle. She had walked straight up to me and said, "Keys." I'd actually thought she was joking. You have your own transportation. Not for this weekend. That doesn't make my SUV yours. Her smile disappeared. Seriously, Veronica, you're doing this now. That was when I noticed Ethan standing near his parents across the yard. Melissa glanced toward them before lowering her voice. Please don't make this difficult. I studied her. Something about those words bothered me. Before I could ask what she meant, Daniel appeared. What's going on? She won't give me the SUV, Melissa said. Daniel didn't ask why. He didn't ask whether I had agreed. He simply turned to me. Give it to her. That was the moment I knew the conversation I had been dreading for days had finally arrived. Now, after the slap, Daniel stared at the envelope in my hands. What is that? Melissa asked. I slid my thumb beneath the flap. Daniel took one step toward me. Veronica. His voice had changed. For the first time that evening, it wasn't an order. It was fear. Because inside that envelope were documents Daniel recognized, and proof Melissa had never expected me to find. So why had I arrived at a family gathering, already carrying evidence against my own husband and his sister? 4 days before Daniel slapped me, I walked outside and found Melissa posing beside my SUV. She had her phone propped against a planter and was taking pictures. Her handbag sat on the passenger seat, and she'd even moved my sunglasses and charging cable out of the center console. What are you doing? Melissa spun around. Pictures, relax. With my car. She rolled her eyes. When are you finally going to stop being difficult about this? That word, difficult asterisk, was one Daniel used whenever I told his sister no. Months earlier, I'd loaned Melissa my old sedan for one afternoon. She returned it with the rear bumper crushed after backing into a concrete post. The repair cost *3, $800 *. I'll pay you back, she promised. She never paid $1. When I finally pushed the issue, Daniel told me, Melissa's going through enough. You can afford the repair. So when I bought my new SUV with money I had carefully saved, I made one rule clear. Melissa wasn't borrowing it. That evening, Daniel confronted me in our bedroom. You're still punishing her over that accident. I'm protecting something I paid for. She needs the SUV for one weekend. Then she can rent one. Daniel exhaled sharply. She has people expecting her to arrive in it. I looked at him. Expecting. He hesitated. Then he walked away. Later that night, I picked up our shared tablet. A notification appeared from Melissa. I almost dismissed it until I saw Daniel's name. Their messages had synchronized. Melissa, you promised she'd sign after Saturday. My stomach tightened. Then Daniel's response appeared beneath it. She will, just let me handle Veronica. Sign what? I photographed the screen with my phone. The next morning, I pulled out my purchase contract, title, insurance records, and the unpaid $3,800 repair invoice from Melissa's accident. I printed the screenshots and placed everything inside one envelope. Whatever Daniel and Melissa were planning for Saturday, it wasn't simply about borrowing my SUV. And I wasn't going there unprepared. Before leaving for the gathering, I made one final call. I removed Daniel as an authorized driver from my SUV insurance. Then I put the keys in my purse, tucked the envelope beside them, and walked out the door. Back in the backyard, Daniel stared at the envelope in my hands. Put that away, Veronica. No. His jaw tightened. I told you to apologize. And I told you she isn't getting my car. That was when Ethan stepped away from his parents. He had watched Daniel slap me. Now he looked from Melissa to the SUV parked in the driveway. Wait, he said. Why did Melissa say Daniel told her she could *** have the SUV? Melissa immediately moved toward him. She said it wrong. I heard her. It's complicated, Ethan. Daniel cut in. Veronica already agreed to transfer it. She's backing out because she's jealous of Melissa. I almost couldn't believe how easily he said it. In front of everyone. I opened the envelope. Then this should be easy to explain. I pulled out the vehicle title and held it where Ethan could see it. One owner. Veronica Hayes. No Melissa, no Daniel. Next came the purchase contract. I paid the down payment. Every installment comes from my account. There was never an agreement to transfer this vehicle. Daniel reached toward the papers. Enough, you're humiliating everyone over a car. I moved them away from him. No, Daniel, I'm correcting a lie. Then I turned toward Melissa. Why does Ethan think this SUV belongs to you? Melissa went completely still. Ethan's mother answered before she could. Because that's what Melissa told us. Melissa whipped around. Mrs. Carter, you said you bought it through your consulting business. The silence changed. People weren't staring at me anymore. They were staring at Melissa. It was a misunderstanding, she said quickly. I reached into the envelope again. Then maybe this was another misunderstanding. I pulled out the $3,800 repair invoice from my old sedan. The last car I loaned Melissa came back damaged. She promised to pay this. She never did. That's why she was never given permission to borrow this SUV. A cousin near the patio frowned. So Veronica never promised her the car. No. Another relative looked at Daniel. Then why did you say she did? Daniel had no immediate answer. Melissa grabbed Ethan's arm. Please, Veronica is twisting everything. Ethan gently removed her hand. He looked at the title again, then at Melissa. His voice was quiet. If the car isn't yours, what else have you told us that isn't yours? Melissa's face drained of color. Ethan, don't listen to her. She's doing this because she hates me. I don't hate you, I said. I just won't give you my property. She's trying to sabotage our engagement. Daniel stepped between us. That's enough. Veronica, leave before you destroy this family. A few hours earlier, that command might have made me question myself. Not anymore. I'm not leaving. Daniel stared at me. I reached into the envelope. especially because you haven't explained these. I pulled out the screenshots. Daniel recognized them immediately. His shoulders stiffened. Where did you get those? Our shared tablet. Melissa looked at him. You said she didn't know. That single sentence turned every head toward her. I unfolded the first screenshot. Melissa wrote, "You promised she'd sign after Saturday." Daniel answered, "She will, just let me handle Veronica." Daniel stepped forward. You're taking private messages out of context. Then give everyone the context. He said nothing. I held up another page. Melissa kept asking whether I suspected anything. Daniel kept assuring her that once both families were here, he could pressure me into agreeing. Ethan turned toward Melissa. Agreeing to what? She wouldn't look at him. That was when Ethan spoke again. You told my parents the SUV was being transferred into your name after our engagement celebration, because you'd finished paying it off. My grip tightened around the papers. Now everything connected. The photographs beside my SUV. The personal belongings inside it. Daniel saying there were asterisk people expecting her to arrive in it. They hadn't simply expected me to lend Melissa my car. They expected me to help make her lie believable. Daniel finally found his voice. I was trying to help my sister save face. I stared at him. By giving away your wife's property. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He had no answer. I reached into the envelope one last time and removed the remaining screenshots. I kept them face down. Melissa saw them. No. She rushed toward me. Give me those. She reached for the papers, but Ethan caught her arm before she could grab them. Melissa, stop. Those are private. She struggled against his grip as everyone around us watched. I turned the screenshots over. Before I could read the first line, Ethan's father stepped forward. His voice cut through the backyard. Melissa, sit down. She froze. He pointed toward the chair beside her. We're going to hear every word. Melissa sat down. I placed the remaining screenshots on the patio table one by one, in chronological order. There was no need to raise my voice. The messages did enough. Melissa had told Ethan and his parents that the SUV belonged to her. She claimed she'd bought it with income from her thriving consulting business and presented herself as financially independent, with substantial assets of her own. Daniel knew none of that was true. One message from Melissa read, "They already think the SUV is mine. I can't suddenly tell them it belongs to Veronica." Daniel had replied, "You won't have to. Saturday gives us enough people around her that she won't make a scene." Another message discussed getting me to sign the transfer afterward. I looked at Daniel. So that was the plan. He rubbed his forehead. I thought once you understood how important this was. You thought humiliating me in front of both families would make me surrender. Nobody defended him. The title was on the table. So was my purchase contract, the insurance paperwork, Melissa's unpaid $3,800 repair bill, and their messages. There was no agreement. There had never been one. And when intimidation failed, Daniel had lost control and slapped me. "Can we talk privately?" he whispered. I touched my burning cheek. "You hit me publicly. You can answer publicly." His eyes dropped. Melissa suddenly started crying. "You've ruined everything for me." "No," I said. "You built everything on property that wasn't yours." Ethan stared at her for several seconds. Then he reached inside his jacket and removed the engagement announcement card his family had brought that evening. He placed it on the table. "The engagement is postponed." Melissa stood abruptly. "Over a car?" "No," Ethan shook his head. "Over the lying, and because you involved everyone else in keeping it going." Daniel moved toward me. "Veronica, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hit you." I picked up my documents. You weren't sorry when you thought I'd obey you. I put everything back into the envelope, took my keys from my purse, and walked toward my SUV. Daniel didn't follow. Neither did Melissa. That evening, I photographed the redness across my cheek and documented exactly what had happened. Daniel stayed elsewhere. Over the following days, I separated our finances, secured my personal accounts and property, and met with a divorce attorney. Melissa never touched my SUV. Ethan's family withdrew from the planned engagement celebration, while Ethan decided whether their relationship had any future at all. And several relatives who had watched Daniel hit me told him plainly that they would not defend what he'd done. The reversal was almost painfully simple. Daniel had started that evening pointing at me and ordering me to surrender my property. He ended it without access to my vehicle, my finances, or the stability I had helped provide throughout our marriage. Melissa had arrived expecting to leave in an SUV she had already been pretending was hers. Instead, she left exposed in front of the exact family she had been trying to impress. Months later, the divorce was moving forward. The SUV remained mine because ownership had never actually been in question. But something more important had changed. For years, one accusation had been enough to make me doubt myself. Selfish. Daniel and Melissa had learned to use that word whenever I set a boundary. I stopped giving it power. Nobody gets access to my money, my property, or my life through guilt, intimidation, or violence. I still keep that envelope in my home office. Not because I enjoy remembering that night. Because it reminds me of the moment I stopped trusting promises designed to keep me quiet and started protecting myself with evidence. Daniel slapped me because I refused to hand over my keys, but when I pulled out the documents, everyone finally saw who had been trying to take what wasn't theirs.